In this video I wanted to go over the process of creating a custom control object using some of the tools that are available in Maya. First and foremost, traditionally most people use some sort of NURBS curve or NURBS shape and either create it from scratch or just modify an existing shape. Modifying an existing shape is obviously the easiest and most straightforward choice, so to do that, the most logical choice is a NURBS circle, which is under Create, NURBS Primitives, Circle. So it is exactly what it sounds like it should be, a circle. You could use this to reshape it and move it and orient it to align with whatever object it is you're trying to manipulate, whether it's an ankle, an elbow, a head, neck, whatever. Visually this could represent almost anything. If you wanted to go a little bit further than just moving it and stretching it into shape, you also have the ability to manipulate it on a vertex level, just like a polygon. And if you right click with it selected, you can go into control vertex mode, which allows you to select the vertices that it comes with and yeah, totally reshape this into something else. And you can spend as much or as little time on this as you want to make whatever shape you feel works visually. So that's pretty much option A and the simplest, just taking an existing shape and modify it. Option B would be creating these curves from scratch. So for example, if I go to Create, Curve Tools, the EP Curve Tool is probably the most user-friendly. As you can see, though, there are many options, and I would just encourage you to try them all and see how they work, but EP is the most straightforward. I'm going to open up its options and just kind of put this over at the side here, and yeah, I'm just going to click and drag points. So if I single click, actually before I do that, I'm going to reset the settings to make sure that we are looking at the same things. So I'm going to go into Create, Curve Tools, EP Curve Tool Options, and I'm going to click on the Reset Tool button. There we go. So with the default settings, the EP Curve Tool will draw curvy shapes. And I'm just literally clicking and dragging points interactively. And then when I'm done, I hit enter. So if you want rounded, smooth, kind of bubbly shapes, then the default settings will give you that. If you want something simpler, which in the grand scheme of things would be more efficient because it's simpler for Maya to calculate, it's actually not a bad idea to change the settings. So back into Curve Tools, EP Curve Tool Options. Change the settings from cubic, which is the default, to linear. And with it set to linear, now as you draw points, it's going to draw a straight line as opposed to a curved line, which again is a much simpler calculation. Same rules though, you hit enter to complete the tool and away you go. So you could draw any shape you want. You could snap to the grid, which is the X key. So if I want to create a perfect triangle, I can use grid snap to do that. Or if you want to get more complex, you could use other objects as reference points for snapping to. So for example, if I create a cube, a polygon cube, I can shape it into pretty much anything. So if I wanted to make, say, a hip or pelvis controller, I can use the regular poly tools, create the shape that I'm looking for, and then once that shape is where I want it to be, I can now use that as a template to snap to with the EP Curve Tool. So if I activate the EP Curve Tool, again it's still set to linear mode, I can use the point snap or the V key to snap to the corners of that polygon. So I'm just holding down V and drawing lines I am overlapping some of them twice. You could spend some time and figure out the pattern that it would require to not have to overlap them. It is possible, but it's such a simple shape, and visually it wouldn't look different either way, because they're mathematically, the overlapping lines are in exactly the same place. So it really doesn't matter. So once you get the shape fully outlined, just hit the Enter key to finalize the shape, select the polygon, and delete it. And what you're left with is a spline control or spline object that's in the shape of the controller that you wanted. Now notice, because I created this up here, as soon as I hit enter, its pivot will appear at the center of the grid. That's normal. Any spline object in Maya, no matter where you create the spline, by default its pivot will be at 0, 0, 0 in world space. To fix that quickly, just go into the select the object, go into the modify menu, and choose the center pivot option. That will bring the pivot to the center of the object itself. And then the other thing for controllers, once they're placed, you want to make sure that their world coordinates and their world transform is all zeroed out and at default, which for Maya is 6 zeros for translate and rotate, and then 3 ones for scale. Now this is exactly what it should be. However, say I decided to shape this a bit more, I scale it, make it a bit fatter, make it a bit taller, and put it in a different position. Maybe I'm aligning it to a different character. Now you can see these values are no longer zeroed, and they should be. You always want to make sure before you graft this controller into a rig system that this is all set to 0. And so check them always before you connect them. And if you do see some translation values or transformation values in there, you want to go into modify, freeze transformations, and that will reset the current position as the new 0. And now this one, once I label it, it's clean and ready to connect into my control system.